It's finally happening. We have an electric cruiser on the way. The S2 Mulholland from LiveWire has just been announced, and this is, to my knowledge, the first full-blown electric cruiser to hit the road. I'm gonna walk you through everything that has me excited about this motorcycle, some things I'm a little bit nervous about, and what I'd like to see next from LiveWire. Now, I know a lot of people look at cruisers and see a motorcycle that's got a ton of weight that you could just remove the giant engine, put a giant battery in there, not worry about the performance, and have a long-range motorcycle. And I still think that there's an option for that in the marketplace, and the Mulholland is not that motorcycle. What we've got here is we've got a sporty cruiser built on the S2 Aero platform. S2 Aero is entirely designed by LiveWire. It's their first platform that's entirely in-house, and it is a ton of fun. With the Mulholland, we've got a 10.5 kilowatt hour battery and a motor capable of putting down 84 horsepower and 194 foot-pounds of torque with a wet weight of 432 pounds, which when you think about the performance cruiser marketplace, that's staggeringly light. Now let's get the first drawback out of the way right out of the gate. This thing suffers on the highway, and I can corroborate this with my experience on the S2 Del Mar. They claim 73 miles of range on the highway with a sustained 55 miles an hour. And if you speed that up, you are going to decrease the range. However, this motorcycle is not positioned as a highway cruiser. This thing is designed to be a city monster because with all of that torque, you're gonna be able to jump away from a stoplight instantly. And let's be honest, if you're using it as a commuter, the combined 90-ish miles of range is going to be more than enough for what you need to do. The second drawback, as I see it, is it doesn't include DC fast charge. This was the same thing on the S2 Del Mar. I think it's just a limitation of the S2 Aero platform. And I would like to see DC fast charge come in a later model, but that's gonna add expense. Right now on level 2, you're looking at 20 to 80 in about 78 minutes, which isn't terrible, and most folks have a level 2 or 240 volt in their garage for either a water heater or a dryer or something like that. However, on level 1, that same 20 to 80 takes about 5.9 hours, they claim. For most commuters, this isn't gonna be an issue. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. However, if you can't charge the bike at your office, you might want to avoid the long route home. I'm gonna reserve my judgment on all this until I actually ride the motorcycle. It's hard to see how these numbers on paper translate to miles on the road, and sometimes you can actually find a little bit more or a lot less. However, I will say the S2 Aero platform is so much fun. It's an absolute torque monster of a motor. When you crack the throttle open, it's one of the first electric bikes other than the Ava Rebella RS from Energica, which is a $25,000 motorcycle that actually just wants to rip the wheel off the ground. It's fast, it's lightweight, it's flickable with great Brembo brakes. A ton of fun to ride, and I'm sure when we actually see the S2 Mulholland on the road, it's gonna feel a lot like that rowdy Del Mar. The bike has Hitachi suspension. Yes, that Hitachi, the magic wand, people. If you're at the office and you don't know what the Hitachi magic wand is, don't Google it. It's not safe for work. But it's really funny that the same Japanese conglomerate that makes a personal massager also makes suspension components. I had to Google it, and I actually went down an entire rabbit hole and screwed up my entire search history. But what a world we live in, right? One of the things that's weird is that the S2 Del Mar actually had Showa suspension, which felt great, so I'm not sure why they switched to the Hitachi suspension here. though it might have something to do with their sustainability push, which is a huge part of this motorcycle. I know that there are some people in the comments right now who heard the word sustainability and have compared that to the end of freedom as we know it, but it is actually really cool to see a major manufacturer acknowledge sustainability and not only say that they're gonna reduce emissions, but actually do something about it. They've got hemp bodywork, they've got recycled ocean plastic in other components on the motorcycle, and they've got a silicone seat. They're actually putting their money where their mouth is and trying to reduce and reuse where they can, which is super cool. And that's kind of the whole point of electric vehicles, right? Now this bad boy is gonna cost you 16 grand. And again, I can already see the comments. That's a ton of money for a motorcycle that I can't ride very far. I get it, I totally hear you. But this is a cheaper way to get into electric motorcycles that doesn't have to be a flagship hyper naked. This is a really great way for people to get into electric bikes, and it's only $500 more expensive than the S2 Del Mar. Like I said, I'm gonna reserve judgment on this motorcycle until I actually ride the thing, but the S2 Aero platform is seeming like it's very modular. I would love to see a supermoto, a true supermoto built on this platform. Could you imagine a lightweight torque monster bike that has 194 foot-pounds of torque, long travel suspension, and 17-inch rims? That sounds awesome to me. And while they're at it, they could take that platform, slap some dirt bike wheels, and make a dual sport out of it. I think dual sports are a really underutilized part of electric biking because you're not super worried about range there. Hell, they could even make a trail-only version of this thing that's just a monster that is aimed right at the Stark Varg. I've actually started pinning more of my hopes for the future on LiveWire versus Harley-Davidson. LiveWire is still 70% Harley-Davidson, but they're willing to take risks, whereas Harley-Davidson is willing to just wallow in the past and do the same thing, pound the same pavement that they have for years. And meanwhile, LiveWire's over here doing some really awesome, unique stuff. But speaking of unique stuff, I would love to see LiveWire acknowledge the smaller 72 volt segment of electric bikes. This is a great entry place for people who don't have 16 grand to set aside on a bike. Maybe they've got 6,000 to 8,000 bucks that they can spend. This marketplace is dominated by the Sur-Ron, the Talaria, and the Solar. And I could see LiveWire giving a bike that has dealer support because you actually can't get parts for these bikes in person. It would be really great if something goes wrong to just be able to take it to a dealership rather than having to wait for a part to get mailed in, hope it's the right thing, and try to not electrocute yourself when you put a new controller on there. I think having a major manufacturer acknowledge this market segment would be a great way to allow more people on two wheels. It also makes sense because it can fit in some people's apartments, whereas the S2 Mulholland and Del Mar don't. And that's where I'm gonna wrap this video up, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the Mulholland down below. Are you interested in seeing more from this Aero platform? Would you like to see it get developed into a smaller, more affordable package, or would you like to see them go back to making bikes like the One and invest in bigger and badder motorcycles? Let me know your thoughts, all that down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.